Players like Anthony Edwards are why the NBA draft is so hard for teams to get right. Forget the pandemic. He would have been hard to evaluate in a normal year. Edwards has the talent to be the number 1 overall pick this year. No one would deny that. But he also did enough bad things in his one season at Georgia to raise real questions about his NBA future. Let's start with that talent. Anthony Edwards is an American actor and director known for his roles on ER and Top Gun. Oh, sorry. Wrong Wikipedia page.
Spade. Call it spade.
The most notable thing about the other Anthony Edwards are his dimensions. 6'5" and 225 pounds with a 6'9" wingspan. You don't see that on a basketball court very often. There were 217 players who appeared in an NBA game last season who were 6'5" and shorter. Only 7 weighed more than 225 pounds. The 2 you know about are PJ Tucker, 6'5", 245, and Malcolm Brogdon, 6'5", 229. Now imagine if Tucker or Brogdon had a 42-inch vertical. That frame makes it very easy for Edwards to create space off the dribble. And look what he can do with that space.
That's what we do all day long, I promise you.
He's a freight train with the burst and handle of a sports car. Don't be fooled by his nickname Ant-Man. That's just a play on his first name. If he were a Marvel character, he'd be more like the Hulk. But he's not just an incredible athlete. You have to be able to shoot to succeed in the modern NBA. Edwards can do that too. His poor three-point percentage at Georgia doesn't tell the whole story. The more telling numbers are his free throw shooting and three-point attempts, 7.7 per game. History has shown that those are stronger indicators of a player's ability to shoot NBA threes than his college percentages behind a shorter three-point line. It makes sense when you think about it. A free throw is an uncontested standstill shot. How can you make threes if you can't make those? That was the red flag for Markelle Fultz and Lonzo Ball, both of whom shot 41% from 3 in college, but less than 70% from the free throw line. The number of attempted threes is critical too. Justice Winslow and Josh Jackson have both been bad shooters in the NBA, despite shooting well from 3 in college. But that doesn't mean much when they only combined for 200 total attempts. Edwards shot 245 by himself. You don't take that many threes in one season without a decent jumper. You hear the phrase, he's going to be a problem a lot online. Edwards is actually a problem. How do you guard a freak athlete with a projectable jumper? You don't. You just hope he misses. That's how Edwards scored 37 against Michigan State, 36 against South Carolina, and 32 against Florida, and how he led the SEC in scoring as a freshman at 19.1 points per game. But he has problems in addition to being a problem. The biggest is that Georgia went 16-16 and at a 5-13 record in SEC play. If there had been an NCAA tournament, they wouldn't have even been in it. A player as good as Edwards should have been able to win games by himself in college. So what happened?
Yeah, come on! Whoever did this, just get fast. We promise we won't be mad.
Problem 1. The type of shots he was taking. Just because you can make step-back threes doesn't mean that you should take them. Edwards is not James Harden. That's one of the reasons he shot under 30% from 3. There were a lot of possessions where he wasn't reading how a defense was guarding him. He just felt like shooting, so he did. Problem 2. His coach was Tom Crean, who you might remember from the memes or because he's married to a Harbaugh sister. But Crean sold Edwards on coming to Georgia, not exactly a basketball hotbed, partly because he developed and coached Dwayne Wade and Victor Oladipo in college. Both are combo guards who combine scoring and passing ability. Edwards was supposed to do the same, but he only averaged 2.8 assists on 2.7 turnovers per game in college. That's a ratio of 1-to-1. Point guards should be at least 2-to-1, if not 3-to-1. Crean eventually moved Edwards to shooting guard, but not before a lot of losing happened first. And there was his defense. All the physical tools in the world don't matter when you aren't paying attention or giving your best effort. Georgia went from a defensive rating of 110.1 with Edwards on the floor to 103 with him off. Look at the difference between his on-off numbers and those of his teammates. He almost single-handedly sunk the Bulldogs' defense. You know who else took bad shots and didn't pass or play defense in college? Andrew Wiggins. He was a top pick in 2014 because he was an all-world athlete with a decent jumper. It's 2020 and that's still all he is. You can't just assume a player is going to develop because he's a great athlete. But that's not the whole story in Edwards either. There's some important context still missing. For starters, 16-16 isn't a bad season at Georgia. They went 11-21 the season before. Crean's first in Athens. He had to rebuild the program from the ground up. The school has almost no basketball tradition. They have won one NCAA tournament game in Edwards' entire life. Edwards was one of 5 freshmen in its rotation, but this is no Fab Five. He was the only one ranked in the top 50 of their high school class. You can win in college with either talent or experience. It's almost impossible to win without either. The Bulldogs finished 322 in the country in three-point percentage. Defenses could pack the paint against Edwards and double-team him with impunity. He wasn't an unwilling passer either. His teammates just didn't convert many of them. He had 10 games with 4 or more assists in college, and only 5 with 1 or none. Wiggins, in contrast, had 5 games with 4 or more assists in college, and 21 with 1 or none. And that's while playing with Joel Embiid and 4 other future NBA players at Kansas. Edwards wasn't just being selfish when he was playing 1-on-5. It was also Georgia's best chance of winning. They were 6-3 when he scored 24 points or more, and 10-13 when he scored fewer. Nor is he the first big-time prospect to struggle with defensive effort on a bad college team. Just watch Ben Simmons to LSU. They missed the tourney and had the 228th ranked defense in his one season of college. And now he's first-team all-defense in the NBA. But that doesn't mean Edwards will develop like Simmons any more than he will like Wiggins. Every prospect is different. Every path is different. We were talking about 18 and 19-year-old kids. Crean coached Wade and Oladipo for 3 seasons in college. He only coached Edwards for 1. Edwards is really young, even for a one-and-done player. He turned 19 in August, making him the 3rd youngest player in this draft. He's even a few months younger than Evan Mobley, one of the top prospects in next year's draft. And he's 15 months younger than fellow freshman Cole Anthony. That's a big difference. Edwards also has a different background than most other top prospects. Remember his unusual dimensions? The reason you don't see them in basketball very often is that most guys built like him end up playing football. Edwards was supposed to be a football star. Look at this Pop Warner highlight reel. He could have been the next Derrick Henry or Myles Garrett. He didn't focus full-time on basketball until he became a high school sophomore. We can focus on all the things he did wrong at Georgia, or we can talk about him being a high school-aged kid still learning the game on a bad college team. Neither perspective is wrong. It just depends on how you want to look at it. Edwards has all the talent to be a great NBA player, and he's about where you would expect him to be given his age and background. But he has a long way to go to reach his potential. Whether he'll get there or not will depend on how much he wants to work and keep getting better. And who can predict that? Anyone who says they can for sure is probably lying.